Hi, I'm Amy Schmidt, inspiring you to cannonball with confidence.
And I'm Kristen Coffield, the wellness lifestyle expert.
Oh, I like that.
I am.
Lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's kind of new.
Yeah.
Well, it's not new to you, but it's kind of new in the intro. I like it.
Yeah, I think it's important to kind of say I help people with the whole thing,
I like it.
not just the food,
It's just,
the everything.
Yeah, everything. She is an eating expert, I will say. And I think I've helped you with your confidence, correct?
Absolutely.
See, there we go. So together we bring you ageless advice for timeless women. So I wanted to share a little story because, I lost both of my parents. And it's interesting because I'm the youngest of 5. That's a whole nother story because I was the Michigan ski trip accident kid. But that's another episode. So my parents passed away and, we had to go through a lot of stuff. And I know you recently had to do this too, where you had to go through a lot of stuff. Anybody out there watching right now, have you had to deal with this, either with your parents or a relative, or just in general, you have too much stuff?
We all have too much stuff and we don't realize it because what happens is we pack stuff away. We put stuff in the back of cabinets, in the back of closets. We have boxes we moved from that last place to the new place, and we don't realize how much stuff we have. So in the case of your parents, were they like in the same house that they'd been in for a long time?
Good question. We had moved from one house and they had downsized into a condo because my dad was suffering with Parkinson's. But, we don't all live, all 5 of us, in the same geographic area. So getting us all together and going through loss and then the emotional part of that, and then all of a sudden opening up a box of Christmas ornaments that were gorgeous old ornaments, and then my brother accidentally tripping and falling, and well, that just let out a whole bunch of different emotions. And I think it's really challenging, but we also don't realize the value in some of these things that we may find, some of these treasures.
And there's 2 kinds of value. There's intrinsic value and there's monetary value.
Right. So we're excited today because we have incredible guests.
Yeah, we have our experts, Roger Schrank and Chris Foltz, the founders of Hunt and Peck Estate Auctions, and they are going to be sharing with us the best information, need to know information,
Love
Amy.
that. Yep.
Ageless
We need to know.
advice
Yep.
for timeless women, because very often these downsizes fall to women. They're going to be telling us about their company, how they work, and what we all need to do, because every one of us, we're all going to have to deal with a house filled with crap.
Right. Yeah, we do. It's part of life. And just to get that value, and I have a bunch of questions for them, so I can't wait to bring them out. Stay tuned.
Did you know about that?
What? I didn't hear. That thing I've been telling you about. It's been a game changer for me.
Hi, I'm Kristen.
And I'm Amy, and welcome to Better Than Gossip, Ageless Advice for Timeless Women. Well, as we talked about in our preview and our little intro, we have some amazing guests with us today, Roger and Chris. So let's get this party started because there is so much info that you're going to be sharing.
And everybody's going to want to get a pen and a piece of paper because you're going to want to take notes on this one. Chris, tell us a little bit about Hunt and Peck Estate Services.
First of all, we're a value extraction company. We've devised a business model wherein we take everything in a house and separate it into 3 categories. Estate sales, eBay, and on live auctioneers, it's a live auction model. There's also a 4th category that's trash, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
It's not very glamorous.
It's not the glamorous side, but it is the truth. What that does is it allows us to pull the most value out of every object in the house out for the client. And we tell our clients, frankly, the more money you make, the more money we make. We make all of our money on commission, and everything is transparent.
Oh,
So
interesting. I got to hear about some of these stories of
yes.
these houses. Very interesting. So tell us a little bit about, how is the business run and organized, and what do the customers kind of expect from you and your services?
Well, as Chris mentioned, we have 3 categories, and they're all run differently, but they have a lot in common. An estate sale is a public event that takes place in a home. Our staff comes to the home, prices everything, and organizes the sale for a public event. So there's tables, things are pulled out of cabinets, and it's essentially sort of set up like a mini store. So everything can be seen and can be shopped. And an estate sale actually is a shopping experience. So
I love that.
you want it to be, you really want it to be like almost like a flea market in your home.
Yes.
Our clients are essentially given no role in that because they have a far too emotional and historical relationship with the objects. And so they can often be hurdles to setting up a store the way it should be in their home. But prior to the estate sale, and this is the interesting part, our staff also gleans objects of value from the estate that are better sold online to a wide national audience. Essentially anything that can fit in a 14 by 14 box, that it's widely collectible, mass produced, Yadros, good crystal, good china, etc. Even used handbags.
Right.
I like to get through those.
Yeah, that can be
I
sent.
love estate sales.
Exactly. So whatever can be sent or mailed easily is probably going to have a much wider audience and is going to produce more money for the estate if it can be sold nationally.
More eyes.
Yes,
more
exactly.
eyes on the objects.
And at the same time, our staff is trained to enter a home and identify an object of tremendous value that should be pulled and sent to our auction house to be professionally photographed, cataloged, and sent into a nationally advertised auction, which again, we use Live Auctioneers as a platform because they have millions and millions and billions of viewers. Right. So we always say to people, the more you touch something, the more you're spending money on it. So it's better to sell things that have lesser value and are more marketable to your local community.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because
if
they're buying your sofa, they're paying to move your sofa.
Yes.
Right. So why would you want to then move your sofa somewhere, right, and then deal with it later and try to sell it? You need to sell those heavy, bulky things that really have a utilitarian value
or a cost associated
with it. Yeah.
Can we talk about the customers for a second? I mean,
Please,
not the customer,
please.
but the client, because I think it's so interesting. The clients have an emotional attachment to these things. Take us to a time in your business when, you walked in, you met with a client, and then they wanted to be more involved. And how did you deal with that? And how can you kind of break that a little bit?
Chris, you take this one.
Okay. Well, we obviously are individuals. We have individual roles in the business also.
Yeah.
I tend to deal with the clients on the emotional side, and Roger's the one digging through the house.
Yeah.
It's a fun way we do things, but it proves effective. Clients, the emotional aspect with objects usually revolves around family heirlooms.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do with them. They're almost locked in place. They don't know, is it trash? Can I sell it? Does it have any kind of value? I don't want it in the trash, but I don't know who's going to take it. We basically have to sit the client down and explain to them what's going to happen. No client wants to see their dresser being rummaged through. No client wants to hear someone say, "God, that's ugly."
Yeah.
No, that happens
That's true.
in every
that-
house.
that-
It's why they do that on the real estate shows. You just don't want to have a client hear that. That makes it more painful.
Yeah,
They
it really
usually
does.
listen at that
It
point.
really does.
And everybody thinks their stuff is worth more than it actually is.
Right.
True.
So we are going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
So we have beans from all over the world. All of our coffee is 100% Arabica. It's hand-picked, highest grade, highest altitude. So Arabica has less caffeine. It has way more flavor though. Each coffee is different. They all have different moisture content. They all roast up a little bit differently, which is why doing it by eye to me is so important. I believe coffee brings people together. Everybody drinks coffee, right? It doesn't matter where you're from, how much money you make, where you live, any of that. Like, people drink coffee. So I want to be a place that connects people.
So welcome back. We are here with Roger and Chris from Hunt and Pack. And right there, that name, Hunt and Pack, I mean, how many times do we hunt and peck and we have all these things? And we're talking about, estate planning, auctions, all of these things that I think have really come about more since the pandemic as well.
It really has.
Yeah, do you think so?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And why do you think so? I feel like I get estate sale, flyers quite often or see something in my inbox in my email.
Yeah, you're right, Amy. COVID made everyone really think about their environment because they were sitting at home. And COVID didn't necessarily stop the process of downsizing or moving somewhere else. It actually accelerated it for many people. And people rethought what their environment needed to look like. So it pushed both sides of the buying and selling world. And estate sales, selling online, selling at auctions, all part of that market.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
And when we talk about estate sales, let's talk about that just for a minute, because I've had experience with them. Even growing up, I was talking about, I'm the youngest of 5. I've gone through this my parents' death and things like that. My parents always loved to go to estate sales. And I remember as a kid going to an estate sale, and there was a gentleman there that was going through Life magazines. There was a stack. It was either National Geographic or Life magazines. And they were spending, I can remember it in my mind, just them looking through them, looking for a certain one.
Yeah.
Is that your customer that goes into estate sales? Are they looking for one specific treasure?
Well, they are, but that brings up an even bigger point. When you plan, and Chris can back us up on this, when you begin the plan to downsize or move, the first thing to remember is don't throw away what you think is trash. You need to focus on what you're taking to your next house, and that's it.
Yeah.
Once you've made that decision, everything else has a world beyond your home. So Life magazines, which, many people would say, oh, those are trash, throw them away.
Yeah.
There is always someone out there who's going to pay 5, 10, 25 cents, for something you really don't think has any value whatsoever, right? So instead of you spending the time to throw them away, right, and you incurring the waste cost and all of that, why not just try to sell it in the beginning and at the end, then toss it?
What Roger and I realized a few years ago was if everything's $1 and you have 10,000 $1 items, you have $10,000.
Yeah.
It's very simply, but the concept is you don't know what someone else is going to pay for something or why they're going to pay for it, but you shouldn't care why they're going to pay for it.
We've told our clients before, walking through their beautiful homes, we'll go to the kitchen and pull out their junk drawer and we'll say, there's more money in this junk drawer than in your collectible cabinet.
So you find a little duct tape. Let's be honest.
Yeah, like
It's
duct
a junk
tape,
drawer.
scissors, nail clippers, sewing kits, Ziploc bags,
Pens.
Old coins, probably.
We found
old
coins.
pliers, screwdrivers, just stuff that accumulates in your home.
Old sterling silver. I mean, we found true value in the junk drawer.
Okay, so how did this all start? And Kristen knows you, so she's kind of sitting here going, yeah, this is old news to me. But for me, I have never met you, and I know what you do, and I know how highly Kristen thinks of what you do in your business, and she has worked personally with you. But how did this get started? Walk us through that. Have you always liked things?
Nova Liquidation, I think, was the start of where we got into this. We started Nova Liquidation about 20 years ago. We were doing buyouts. We would come in and write a check. You would call us to clear your parents' house out, and we would write a check and clear the house out, and we would say to broom swept status. It wasn't ready for the market for sale, but it was close enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
As time marches on, we've had to morph based on the crash in 2008.
Oh, sure.
We've been through that, and then with COVID, we had a retail shop that Roger will talk about, which is how we came up with Hunt and Peck.
Yeah.
But
that was the original name of our retail shop, and COVID closed that. I mean, all of a sudden you've got all this stuff sitting in a giant store, and here comes the lockdown, and you've got to start selling stuff. And what happened was, all of our other venues for selling stuff, via other auction houses or something, they dried up also. So we had to start our own auction service to deal with the things that were coming in because we couldn't even send them anywhere.
But we weren't unfamiliar with the auction process. We, in our old business, would send things to other auction houses. We understood contracts. We understood the cost to move things to an auction house across the country or down the street.
Yeah.
And from we always did eBay. We always we always tried to maximize our own value after we wrote the check.
But let's bring it down to like a micro level. People still need like an electric cord, or they still want to shop, and that's just changed. So now people, they are going online to look for all of these things.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And with Amazon, it's changed the way we think about, buying something. So people are really comfortable going online and
But
exploring.
even now since we're kind of out of the full-blown COVID phase, people are craving social activity.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And in estate sales, everyone's in a good mood.
Yes.
You get,
wait
you
in
get a few
line.
people. That's right.
I've done that.
That's right.
I've waited in
Well,
line.
but
I meet people around me. It's fantastic.
Andy, you must admit, but as prices rise and availability is shrinking, you've got to find other venues to fill your needs. So why not go to an estate sale in your area within driving distance? Spend a half hour, 45 minutes. And there are things that are very lightly used.
Yeah.
An air mattress.
Right.
That might have been used twice.
Perfect.
Why go to a big box store, spend $140 on that in a box when it's been used twice and it's $25.
Does anybody ever use an air mattress more than twice?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when you need
I got one.
But when you need it, you need it.
But there's also the seasonality of objects. You don't sell a turkey platter in July, you sell the turkey platter in November.
Right.
Yeah.
Outdoor furniture sells best between April, when the azaleas start to bud,
right,
to the end of August.
You start hearing
After
the frogs
that,
and the birds.
That's
and
right, and then it's
people are
dead.
like,
no
"It's
one's
outside."
looking at outdoor furniture in January.
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
Well,
What about cross-generationally? I think, maybe I just have my daughter loves to shop for old things, interesting things. Do you feel like millennials and that age group are interested in auctions and are using eBay and are doing those types of things to find unique things?
Yeah, they really are. They really are. Because they don't remember your childhood. They don't remember how it was like when you were a teenager or when you were 20, was starting your first apartment or whatever. They don't know what your experience was like.
Right.
You didn't have online.
Right.
They have online.
Yeah.
So they're interpreting their experience, trying to, they're coming of age, but they have different tools.
Yeah.
And this marketplace of used objects, estate sales, auctions, etc., to them, that's been around since they were born.
Right.
Right. So they're more comfortable with that medium. Yeah. And bringing up the millennials, there actually now is a band of collectors, or I should say, a group of people called the Grand Millennials. There's actually like this sort of whole decorating scheme around these kids who value their grandparents' stuff, not their parents' stuff, because that's verboten. It's all about the grandparents' stuff. So they're looking at blue and white china. They're looking at frou-frou lace.
Oh, that's
they're looking. Wow. Yeah, they really are.
I think that's so cool.
And when you think you have to have a service of 12 of china, they just want to have a salad plate so when their friends come over, they can have cocktails on little salad plates that are very pretty. They don't think like you did when you were married.
Right.
They don't.
Right.
No millennial or no one in their early 30s has a service of 12 of anything.
Right. Exactly.
It's all different. It's all still useful, but it's being used differently.
I think it's important to put this out there. Roger, what's your background?
Well, oh gosh, it's quite a mix.
Well, but you are an expert in fine arts, and decorative items, and you have a master's degree from Georgetown in fine arts.
It sounds exhausting, doesn't it?
Wow, you're smart.
Yeah, no, since I've just done a lot.
And you've done interior design, the two of you.
Yes.
And I think just really briefly, give us a little of your background, both of you, because I think that's part of the interesting story. We talk a lot about collaboration, and everybody can't be good at everything. Yeah. And the two of you have come together with your skill set and built an incredible brand that supports very often women who tend to be the people in the family who are handling the estate downsize.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Kristen. I went to my first auction when I was 15 years old, and that really sort of set the tone. And then my junior year of college, I realized I didn't want to be an international business major. I wanted to study furniture. Imagine telling your parents in Illinois, You know,
Oh.
I'm changing my major. I want to study objects, which I didn't even know really what that meant, right?
Right. Right.
So after going through multiple summer fellowship programs and studying and etc., I got out of college with no job because I changed my major late.
And you were studying
I flipped my whole life over. I worked retail for a year, learning about textiles, etc. And then I moved to Alexandria, how I met Kristen, and I worked for an antique shop. And then I worked for a shop that was right next door that did like estate sales and buyouts, and they had a funky junk shop. And then I worked for an auction house, and then I worked for a high-end decorator. So it's really a whole gamut. So it wasn't like, I planned this to happen like this, but once I met Chris, who has a great business mind, which I don't, our talents really blended greatly.
I love that story.
So,
That's amazing.
I was born in Washington, D.C., grew up in the suburbs of D.C., and we'll talk about that a little bit later. I understand the mentality of a lot of the people in D.C. and the income levels. Every linen closet in D.C. is packed, and we'll talk about that too. But my background is in finance, operations, and logistics. I worked for a lot of the military contractors in the D.C. area and for one of the largest software companies. So, and what we've come to realize in this business, the majority of what this business is about logistics. Like we talked about moving everything between the three venues of value. There is a lot that goes behind the scenes on how we get to those three areas.
Yeah, you're right. And that's how we came up with the triangle of value and processing an estate, with the least amount of hurdles for the client and also for us, Because again, every time you touch it, it costs you money.
Every time you touch it, it costs you money.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Hi, and welcome back. We are here with Roger and Chris from Hunt and Pack, and they are about to share their secret sauce.
We love the secret sauce.
Oh, it's the best part of the show.
This is where we share that one tip everybody really needs to know.
Love it.
So what is your secret sauce?
Go ahead, Roger.
Well, we call it the 10% rule. Now what that means, and this might sound difficult to take, but at the end of the day, if you're dealing with a downsizing situation or the estate of a family member, if you can realize 10% of what was originally paid for everything after all expenses, you've done pretty well.
10%.
Yeah.
And remember, everything you have is used.
Yeah.
True.
Or everything you have was custom to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That doesn't mean
Well
someone
said.
else is going to like it. So
I'll give you a good example.
that's why we say you're lucky.
Let's say when you got married, you spent $15,000 on your dining room furniture, right?
Okay.
The
Yeah.
same year, let's say you bought a brand new BMW. Okay? 25 years later, everyone thinks their dining room furniture is worth $15,000, but they're happy that their $75,000 BMW is now worth $3,500.
$3,500.
So, how does that work?
Wow.
And
Yeah.
frankly, I'd rather have the BMW for $3,500
Yeah.
than someone's $15,000 dining room set. So there's
Right.
the 10% rule right there. You're only going to
Great
get
example.
$1,500 for that dining room set. Just like the car in your garage, that's it.
Right.
That's right.
Right. Oh, this was awesome. But there's so much more to learn and so much more to talk about. And of course, I've got some stories to share. We're going to have them back.
Good. Thank
Yeah,
you.
we
Great.
can't wait to go over some more really nitty gritty details that people need to know so they can downsize successfully.
Yes.
I'm Kristen,
And I'm Amy,
and together we are Better Than Gossip.
sharing ageless advice for timeless women. We'll see you next time.